Okay, this is section 6.3 on standard form. This is just a little bit of practice so you guys can get a little bit of extra practice on standard form, okay? So it says, tell whether each function is written in standard form. If not, rewrite it in standard form. So let's look at number 1. So if we look at number 1, it says y equals 3x, and I want to put it in standard form. This one's obviously not in standard form, right? Remember, standard form looks like this. ax plus by equals c. Okay, x and y want to be together on the left side, and anything else has to go on the right side. So in this case, it's not in standard form because y and x are separate from each other. So we're going to write it in standard form. What I'm going to do is move the 3x over to the left side by subtracting it. So I could get negative 3x plus y is equal to, when I subtract 3x minus 3x, nothing's left, 0. And that's it. That's standard form. Now remember, sometimes we are picky about it and we want the first number, the first coefficient to be positive. So if you want to write it with the first coefficient positive, you would write 3x minus y equals 0, which is the same thing. Both of those are correct. They're both correct. Okay, let's look at number 2. Same idea. Tell if it's in standard form or not, and then if it's not, rewrite it. So number 2, once again, it's not in standard form, right? The x and the y are separate from each other. They want to be together. So since they're not together, we're going to put x and y together. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to subtract 5x. By the way, you could do multiple things here first. You could subtract 7 if you want to get rid of the 7. Okay, I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. So minus 5x on this side, minus 5x on this side. That is going to leave me with this, okay? Careful here when you are combining terms on the left side. None of these are like terms. You can't combine them together. So you're going to have 7 minus 5x minus y is equal to 11. Okay? Now I'm going to move the 7 over to the left side by subtracting it. So I'm going to have negative 5x, I'm going to write it over here, negative 5x minus y equals 11 minus 7, which is 4. And that's your final answer. Once again, if we wanted that first term to be positive, we could write it positive. We would have to write 5x plus y equals negative 4. Remember, everything becomes the opposite sign. That's it. Okay, number 3, same idea. Is it in standard form or not? If not, fix it. This is not in standard form either, right? The x and the y are not together. There's a 9 there that doesn't belong. So let's fix it. To fix this one, I'm going to start by distributing first. So it's going to become negative 2x minus 2y plus 9 equals 1. Then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the 9 by subtracting it. So I get negative 2x minus 2y equals negative 8. Okay, now once again, if I want that first term to be positive, I can do that by multiply. Really what we're doing is multiply by negative 1. 2x plus 2y equals 8. And both of those are the exact same function. They are both correct. Okay, number 4, 5, and 6 are the same thing. Given a slope and a point, write an equation in standard form for each line. Okay, so given the slope and a point, write an equation in standard form for each line. At this point, you have the option of using point-slope form or slope-intercept form. Either one is going to get you to the same goal. But since they gave me the slope and a point, what makes more sense here is to use point-slope form. Okay, so I'm going to use point-slope form right now in all 3 of them so that we don't lose anybody. Every single one is going to be done using point-slope form right now. Okay, so let's zoom in on number 4 and do that one. The slope is 6 and a point is 3, 7. So I'm going to call this point x sub 1, y sub 1. And I'm going to plug in those numbers into y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1. Substitute in those numbers, those values. So y minus y sub 1, which is 7, equals m, which is 6, times x minus x sub 1, which is 3. and that is point slope form. We don't want point slope form, right? We want standard form. So in order to change that, I'm going to distribute the 6 times x, and then 6 times negative 3. So when I distribute, I'm going to get y minus 7 equals 6x minus 18. Then I'm going to subtract the 6x over to the left side, or from both sides. So I get negative 6x plus 7, nope, plus y, let's fix that, plus y minus 7 equals negative 18. And then I'm going to add 7 to both sides to get rid of it, because it doesn't belong on the left side. And here's my final answer. Negative 6x plus y equals negative 11. And of course, you can change that to positive 6x minus y equals positive 11, and that would also be correct. Okay, let's do the same thing for number 5 and number 6. Number 5, the slope is negative 1, and the point is 2, 5. So I'm going to call that point x sub 1, y sub 1, once again, just like before. So I'm going to use point slope form. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. And so plug in those numbers. Y minus y sub 1, that would be y minus 5 equals m, which is negative 1, x minus 2. That's point slope form. We don't want that. We want standard form. So distribute the negative 1 right there. Negative 1 times x, and negative 1 times negative 2. So I'm going to continue over here so I could do my work. Y minus 5 is equal to negative x plus 2, right? Negative 1 times x, negative 1 times negative 2, positive 2. Then I'm going to add x to both sides. And so I have x plus y minus 5 equals 2. And finally add 5. X plus y is equal to 7. And that is your final answer for that one. Okay, now let's look at number 6. The slope is 9 and the point is 5, 2. So I'm going to erase all the work that I did for number 5, so I could do it right here. Number 6, once again, they gave me the slope, they gave me a point. I'm going to call that point x sub 1, y sub 1. So my point slope form, I'm starting with point slope form every time here. X minus x sub 1. Plug in your numbers. Y minus y sub 1, which is 2, equals m, which is 9. X minus x sub 1, which is negative 5. And here's where you have a minus a negative, which is going to turn into positive. So it's really y minus 2 equals 9. X plus 5 inside parentheses. Change it to standard form. Always start by distributing here. We're going to distribute the 9. 9 times x, 9x, 9 times 5, 45. So we have y minus 2 equals 9x plus 45. Then I'm going to put the x and the y together in standard form. They want to be together, right? And nothing else next to them. So I'm going to move the 9x by subtracting it. So I get negative 9x plus y minus 2 equals 45. Then I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So I have negative 9x plus y equals 47. That's correct. Of course, if I want to, I can turn that into positive 9x by multiplying by negative 1. Positive 9x minus y equals negative 47. Both of those are the same thing. They're the same equation. They are both correct. Okay, 7 and 8 says graph the line of each equation. When you are given a graph in standard form, you have two options of how to graph. You can find the intercepts and connect them and you're done. Or you can change the equation over to slope-intercept form and then graph that way. Okay, either way, you will get the correct graph. Okay, so I'm going to use intercepts on number 7, and I'm going to change to slope-intercept form on number 8, just so you could show you guys that both ways are correct. So number 7, let's find the intercepts. So remember, to find the intercepts when it's in standard form, if you want to find the x-intercept, substitute in y equals 0. If you want to find the y-intercept, substitute in x equals 0, right? The opposite variable, plug in 0. So let's find the x-intercept first by plugging in y equals 0. So I'm going to do the work right here on top of the graph. I'll erase it after. X minus, let's do it in blue. It's better to see. X minus 2y equals 6. I substitute in 0. X is equal to 6 because 2 times 0 is 0. It cancels out. So my x-intercept is 6. Okay, as an ordered pair, I write 6, 0. So here's the point. Find the y-intercept the same way. Just plug in x equals 0. So it's going to be 0 minus 2y equals 6. That 0 just goes away, so it's negative 2y equals 6. To solve this, you divide by negative 2. There's a negative 2 right there. And so y equals negative 3. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 3, which is a point right here. And then you connect those 2 points, and you're done. Your graph is done. Okay. Now to watch how I do number 8, I'm going to use a different format for that one. Okay. For number 8, I'm going to change the graph, the function, into slope-intercept form. I'm going to transform it into slope-intercept form and then graph using that. So watch number 8. Let's erase all this work from the previous problems. So 2x plus 3y equals 8. What I'm going to do first is change it to slope-intercept form. So what I'm going to do is subtract the 2x to get rid of it. So 3y equals negative 2x plus 8. Right? Because you can't combine the 8 and the 2x. Please don't make the rookie mistake anymore. 8 minus 2, don't say 6. Okay, it's negative 2x plus 8. Divide by 3. And so y equals negative 2 over 3 x plus 8 over 3. And I'm going to graph using that. The slope is negative 2 over 3. The y-intercept is 8 over 3, which I'm going to turn into a decimal right now. It's going to be 2.67 approximately, right? That's going to help me graph better. So if I want to graph using this format, I am going to begin my graph at this point on the y-axis, and then I'm going to use the slope to move. So begin at 2.67. We're going to estimate 2.67. Here's 2. Here's 3. So 2.67 is somewhere a little bit above 2.5, right? So right about there. It's an estimation right there. The slope is negative 2 over 3. So from that point, I am going to go down 2, 1, 2, to the right 3. To about right here at this point. Okay, not right here at 1, not at 0, but between 1 and 0 at about 0.67. So right here. Down 2 to the right 3. Okay, and now I connect those 2 dots and I am done. And that's how you graph it using slope-intercept form. Okay, instead of finding the intercepts to graph. Either way is correct. Okay, number 9. A swimming pool was filling with water at a constant rate of 200 gallons per hour. Let's stop right there. It says a constant rate of 300 gallons per hour. Look out for that information. What did they just give me? They gave me the slope, a rate, a constant rate of 200 gallons per hour. Okay. Then it says that the pool had 50 gallons before the timer started. Write an equation in standard form to model the situation. Okay. So it had 50 gallons before the timer started. That is another piece of information that they just provided for me. The beginning or the initial amount or the y-intercept is 50. They gave me the slope and the y-intercept. That makes my job so much easier, okay? Since they gave me m and b, instead of giving me m and a point, I'm not going to use point-slope form. I'm going to use slope-intercept form in this problem. So y equals mx plus b, using the 2 values that they gave me, y equals 200x plus 50. Okay, but we want an equation in standard form, so all we have to do is put the x and the y together, because they want to be together in standard form. Subtract 200x from both sides, and this is your standard form. Negative 200x plus y is equal to 50. Now, of course, you could change that over to positive 200x minus y is equal to negative 50. And it still works, right? Either one of those two, this one or this one, is correct. Okay, now let's look at number 10. A grocery bag containing 4 potatoes weighs 2 pounds. An identical bag contains 12 potatoes and it weighs 4 pounds. Write an equation in standard form that shows the relationship of the weight and the number of potatoes. Okay, so in this case, they didn't give me the slope. They also did not give me the initial amount, right? So they gave me 2 points. 2 points that they gave me are 4 potatoes, 2 pounds, and 12 potatoes, 4 pounds. So it's my job right now to find the slope. That's always the first thing you need to find. So to find the slope, I'm going to find the rate of change. How is this changing? What is the change in y, and what is the change in x? So from 2 to 4, what's the change? Plus 2, right? From 4 to 12, what's the change? Plus 8. So my slope is change in y, which is 2, over change in x, which is 8, which is 1 over 4, because you have to simplify that slope. 2 over 8 is the same thing as 1 over 4. And then that's step 1, find the slope. Step 2, choose a point. Doesn't matter which one you choose in this case. I'm going to choose 4, 2 because the numbers are smaller. Okay, so 4, 2 is my x sub 1, y sub 1 because I'm going to be using point slope form. So here's point slope form. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1. Plug in your values. Y minus 2, because I'm using 4, 2, equals 1/4 times the quantity x minus 4. Okay, that is not standard form, right? We want the equation in standard form. So let's go ahead and distribute the 1/4. Y minus 2 equals 1/4 times x is 1/4. And the next one you have to think about. What's 1/4 times negative 4? Positive times negative, so it's going to be negative. And what happens when you multiply 1 over 4 times 4, which is the same thing as 4 over 1, right? You're going to get 4 over 4, which is 1. And that's always what happens when you multiply a number times its reciprocal. They are reciprocals of each other. So it's minus 1 right there. Okay, now we want it in standard form, not in point slope form. So I'm going to put the x and the y together, subtract 1 over 4 from both sides, 1 over 4x. Now I'm going to continue over here. It's going to be negative 1 over 4x plus y minus 2 is equal to negative 1. Next, I'm going to kick out the 2 by adding 2. Negative 1/4 x equals, no, plus y equals 1. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. And that is correct. That's standard form, but remember what we said. We don't like fractions in standard form. We want them all to be integers, right? So I'm going to get rid of this fraction by multiplying everything, the entire function, by the entire equation, by 4. When I do that, what's going to happen is right here, it's going to kill that fraction. It's going to cancel it out. Because 4 times 1/4, like we did before, is going to turn into 1. Okay? So that's what the first thing I'm going to do. Multiply there, and I get negative 1x, or just negative x. Then multiply right there, and I get 4y, positive 4y. But I also have to multiply on the other side, so I get 4. 4 times 1 is 4. And that is your final answer. Of course, you can write it as the opposite. So x minus 4y equals negative 4, and both would be correct. I prefer the second one, so I'm going to write that one as my answer. X minus 4y equals negative 4. But this one right here is also correct, right? They're both correct.